Colonel Tom Sullivan, retired, United States Air Force. Colonel Sullivan was born in Logansport, Indiana, attended Camden High School, and completed his bachelor's and master's degrees at Ball State University in special education and psychology, respectively. In 1963, he was commissioned to the United States Air Force ROTC program, serving across the world at Dyess Air Force Base, Texas, Pin Chong Kang Air Base, Taiwan, Yokota Air Base, Japan, Homestead Air Base, Florida, Langley Air Force Base, Virginia, Ramstein Air Force Base, Germany, McCord Air Force Base, Washington, Travis Air Force Base, California, Scott Air Force Base, Illinois, Clark Air Force Base, Philippines. During Colonel Sullivan's military career as an aviator, he was a flight instructor, flight examiner, chief of plans, Air Force Standardization Examination Team, operations officer, flight commander, chief of tactics, director of combat tactics, director of special operations, combat control. Colonel Sullivan is command pilot and has more than 7,000 hours, 1,000 combat and 1,900 combat support in the T-37, T-38, T-39, C-9, C-141, C-130, MC-130, and H-3 aircraft. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce to you retired Colonel Thomas Sullivan.
My mother wrote that several years ago before she passed away. I will try to be brief today because it's awfully warm. Could somebody turn down the humidity? I don't know who's in charge of that. As I was preparing for this today, I came across a speech given by President Ronald Reagan, and he's known as the great communicator. And he included in his speech about the growth of our nation and the freedom that we enjoy. Freedom above all nations. The one line stood out to me, and that line was, where do you find our heroes? And in short, he suggested that we often talk of our sports and other heroes within the communities. However, when we think of our real heroes, we often look in the wrong place. If you've ever been to Arlington, visited a national or state cemetery, visited in a city or a small town cemetery, and yes, walked in the Oldenburg Academy, Oldenburg Cemetery, you will find crosses, and maybe in other states, Star of David. You'll always find American flags or markers placed by the American Legion, VFW posts, as they do throughout our nation. And there you will find an American hero, an American veteran. Here in Oldenburg, we have veterans that have spanned the spectrum of our nation's conflicts. We have one veteran in the Mexican War, 35 in the Civil War, over 40 in World War I, over 100 in World War II, over 40 in the Korean conflict, and over 20 in Vietnam. And today, several of our young men and women have served in Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and currently in Iraq and Afghanistan, like Chad. Today, we stand here to remember all veterans. Those who gave some who gave all in defense of our freedom. We remember both the living and the dead and those who gave their lives. We remember those who serve today so that our freedom, cherished at the very foundation of our heritage, can and shall be preserved. It is that very sacrifice of these veterans here today and others like them throughout this great nation, throughout the 238 years of our existence as a free country, because of their personal dedication and commitment, in large part, is the very reason that we exist today. Because of their sacrifice, the sacrifice of their families, America's freedom remains intact. That single word, freedom, has been fought for throughout history, and that same word roots truly today. And maybe not beginning again, it's going to ring loud. There are events taking place in numerous countries demanding the voice and the choice, their lives. They are very simply crying out for freedom. To our youth, I ask simply that you would question the word freedom. On the same level you question everything else in our society. I would ask each and all to think about what is most important to you, what it means to you living in a free nation. It is difficult to think or even be aware of things we have always had in our lives, things we simply take for granted. Today, as in every decade since the birth of our nation, we have moms and dads, sisters and brothers, uncles and aunts, and cousins who are standing watch throughout many countries to protect and defend our right to exist as a nation. They always have been and remain today our cornerstone to live as a free nation. Freedom is not free. Freedom has never been free. Freedom is a gift given by those who stand, those who willingly serve this nation in times of conflict. For us, that you and I may enjoy our freedom, remember, without their willingness to serve, we would not have today what we so often take for granted. On behalf of my fellow veterans and one of our active duty members, Chad, who stand with me today, we simply say thank you to the citizens of Oldenburg, the Freudenfest vetting team, for remembering these very special men and women who have served and continue to serve this nation. We stand here at this memorial merely and fully to remember. Unfortunately, every generation since the inception of our nation has been called to defend our freedom. The easiest way to avoid defending our freedom is obviously surrender. But we cannot, for we are Americans. Let all the nations of the world know, and those who will try to destroy us, that we will never, ever surrender our freedom. We are America. May you all be blessed today, and may God bless America. Thank you.